Let's look at our last example using court cards. Court cards, just in general, can be very confusing to read. Sometimes they describe a person, sometimes they describe an essence of person, an essence of situation. So not an easy card to read to begin with. But how do you read court cards rooted in objectivity? How do you read a person you see rooted in objectivity? In this case, we're going to be looking at what is the context, what is objective context surrounding a particular person, particular image, what is the energetic objective context of the image you're looking at. So we're employing the same question: is this a good idea? Is it a good idea for me to leave my job? And we're pulling a single card. Again, we're going with traditional card first. In this case, we have Queen of Pentacles. What is the Queen of Pentacles in traditional meaning? Well, traditionally, she's described as a generous person. She tends to be grounded and rooted in earth because she's the Queen of Pentacles. Generosity is involved, like I said. She tends to be also can be described as quite maternal because it has to do with the body. Pentacles have to do with physicality as well. In this case, when we're using traditional approach and we apply it to the question, is it a good idea for me to leave my job? Well, you can say that you have all of the capacity in order to nurture your next state of employment. Again, somewhat flat and sometimes not so easy to really get the nuance, to get the deeper meaning of an image. Now let's apply a foundational approach to the same card. What is the objective essence of the image you're looking at? What are you looking at? You're looking at a queen. You're looking at a queen who's seated on her throne. What is the function of the queens? Well, queens, they tend to be a little bit behind the ruler, right? They don't necessarily rule the country unless they become the rulers. I'm thinking about Queen Elizabeth, for example, or Katerina the Great, for example. Thinking about those types of queens, of course, they can also become rulers. Queen's function is to produce a heir a lot of times to the throne, right? They have to be able to mother a son in a lot of cases. But nonetheless, queens, we can all agree upon that objectively queens sit on a throne, and a throne objectively is higher up in a social economic status than a commoner, than a common woman, than any other person. So the queens, first and foremost, are royalties who are sitting on a throne. In this case, the objective essence and the meaning is a queen, the royalty on a throne. And to answer the question, is it a good idea to leave my job? Could be, are you ready to give up your throne? Are you ready to come down from your pedestal? Are you ready to, whatever that may mean to you, to come down your throne? Somebody might say, I am so excited to come down my throne. I'm so tired of sitting on my throne and leading in any way. I'm so ready to just give it up. Somebody might say, I'm so ready to come up from throne and become a king, or I just don't want to do it anymore. Somebody might have associations to a throne that are completely different. They might say, you know what, I'm associating this with a pay cut, and I'm not sure I'm ready to take a pay cut. So you see how once you find the objective meaning of an image, how it becomes really so personalized once you start layering it, then with your associations, and then with your subjectivity, and with your intuition. Let's look at another example from a completely different tarot deck. Now we're looking at the Tarot of the Crown. Here, we're not having an image of a queen on a pedestal. We're having the opposite. We're having a grandmother, grandmother of discs. She looks like she's holding something to nurture you. What is the essence? What is the objective meaning of the grandmother? Well, grandmothers are their ancestors. They're our ancestors. They're elder. They have a lot of wisdom. They have lived their life. They have learned things. They're also, grandmothers tend to be very nourishing. They tend to be very giving. They tend to be very, just like in this image, she's holding something in her hand as if she's offering something to you. Well, in this case, once you establish the objective contextual meaning of the image you're looking at, and you selected which one you want to use, in this case, perhaps we're going to use grandmother as a wisdom, right? As acquired wisdom over the years. You can then postulate the following question. Is it a good idea to leave my job? You can postulate this. Do you think you have acquired all of the wisdom you need in order to take on whatever the next endeavor is going to come your way? Now you're helping the person to introspect. Now they have to ask themselves, what kind of knowledge do I have? Do I have enough knowledge to move on maybe to a completely different work sector? Do I need maybe to get a little bit more knowledge? You can also ask them, do you think you have everything you need right now in order to nourish your future career prospect? Now nourishment has a different word for somebody else. You couldn't use the same words with the queen in traditional card, right? Because she's situated in a different objective context as this one. One is a queen, one is a grandmother. Completely different objective meanings, completely different associations that you're going to have with this card. Now let's look at the third card. This is a very interesting card. We're looking at the Witch's Tarot, and we're looking here also at the Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Discs. And in this case, we're looking at a completely different image. This seems to be a young lady. In this image, she's nude. Sorry, warning, nude images here. We're all adults. And you may not clearly see an image, or maybe you will, but her left arm is actually missing. This young lady doesn't really have her left arm. What can you deduce from looking at this image objectively? So you can deduce objectively that she has lost her arm. We don't know how, but it is evident on an image that she doesn't have an arm. You can also deduce that she is completely naked and in a nude. It doesn't seem that she's vulnerable. It seems that she's quite confident with her body, quite confident with her appearance. Objectively, you can deduce that the meaning, looking at this image, is that of adaptability. Here's somebody that lost their arm, and yet they're so confident, they're so strong. So the adaptability comes to mind, being able to adapt, being able to have resources to adapt. Is it a good idea to leave my job? Do you think you have all the adaptability that you're going to need in order to continue with your future endeavors? Now the person is thinking about adaptability. They're no longer thinking about, are they ready to come down from pedestal? They're no longer thinking about, do they have the nourishment or wisdom they need? Now we're using the word adaptability. Why? Because that's the objective essence of the image. Now the person is free to free associate or use their intuition to layer that with whatever they want. But that is rooted in that objectivity. You can read this image across the board. Instead of applying traditional meaning of nurturing and down to earth, and which may not always go with the cards that you're using, because you're going to be using so many different tarot decks, and sometimes those traditional meanings are just not going to be very fitting. So this is a great example that we use today. In our tarot reading, we went from strengths as dangerous, strengths as vulnerable. We went from strengths that is also protective. We went also from minor arcana, and we went from Seven of Cups that has variability of choices, Seven of Cups that are has to do with the hunt and being on a hunt for your future endeavors, as well as Seven of Cups as a game and play. And now we're looking at the court cards with the same equation. We get two very different variabilities of Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles as a queen ready to come down her throne, Queen of Pentacles as a nurturing, wise older woman, and Queen of Pentacles as somebody that has adaptability and resourcefulness no matter what happens to them. So you can see now how this approach, really situated in objectivity, helps you then to layer it and take it to a very different, completely different depth and different orientation. Hopefully you enjoyed this class. I think it's going to be very helpful to you no matter what tarot decks you use. From now on, all you have to do is look for that objective foundation, and once you establish your objective foundation, you then from there are free to go and roam around and use your subjective inner library, your associations, your feelings about the image, anything else that comes to your mind. Then only then you can layer once you have this objectivity that you're rooting your readings in.